Rotted Reviews, and today we continue on with the penultimate video of Patron Appreciation Month, where I have queried the people that have supported me above and beyond and asked them what they want me to watch and review, and as long as it's horror, as long as I haven't reviewed it before, I will do so. And today's pick comes to us from patron SmilingSammie, who recommended the 2001 movie Valentine, directed by Jamie Blanks and very, very loosely based on the novel by Tom Savage. So I'm going to start this review out spoiler-free, but at some point, with a warning, I will go into a full spoiler discussion. Not really completely dissecting the movie, but just kind of going over one or two little things that I found about it that I can talk about uninhibited like. And so this movie starts out in one of the least awkward and least judgmental places on Earth, a junior high dance. And a young nerdy kid with buck teeth is going around asking all the girls if they want to dance, and they're either insulting him or just generally turning him down until finally he, in one fashion or another, gets accosted, stripped down, and the whole thing is just an absolute mess for this kid. Fast forward 13 years later, and we now pick up with the main characters of the film, which are the girls that rejected him, as they're encountering their just general day-to-day lives, except now they're starting to get these weird valentines, handmade with some beautiful craftsmanship and made with some real care, but yeah, they also did contain death threats.
My love grows for you as you bleed from your neck.
And sure enough, they start getting picked off one by one, leading to detectives investigating what was going on, tracing things back, so on and so forth. The mystery unfolds. Now, one thing I used to say on this channel all the time, and I've been holding back a little bit because, well, I do believe it still, but I also try to be a little bit less repetitive. But at the heart of every great horror is a great mystery. And the mystery in this case, I thought was actually pretty clever, and it was out of the, who, what, when, where, why, how. It came down to the who. But not really, but at the same time, kinda, sorta. Generally, we knew who was doing it. They already had it figured out. He signed his initials and at one point even signed his full name on a particular card. So we know who it was. We know that it was the person that was picked on at the dance 13 years later, now with murderous intent. He got sent away after that dance. Nobody's heard hide nor hair of him in 13 years. Even the police don't know what he looks like. So out of everybody that these girls interact with in their day-to-day lives, their boyfriends, their friends just generally, all these people that are surrounding them, potentially, after 13 years, could be this guy. And now the game is afoot, trying to figure out who this person is before the next person gets killed. And the theory that I had, afraid to admit, didn't pan out. I'll get into that more with a spoilery discussion. But this movie had, it was kind of echoes of the 90s trickling into the aughts. It was, came out in 2001, and I thought that there would be more of a surprise aspect of things, and I was kind of thinking 3 steps ahead of a movie that refused to actually take any steps. This movie was filled with just one-dimensional characters that really had no interest in rising above their station as people that existed only to celebrate Valentine's Day and get slaughtered. I don't think that there was a single solitary character in this movie that had any more depth or spiciness to them than a saucer of milk. But this was, in its own way, still fun. Trying to figure out this mystery as it was constantly throwing red herrings our way was a fun time by me. That's something that I do enjoy, even if the premise and the characters really don't drive it terribly well. I still enjoy a good mystery. I enjoy theorizing while things are happening, taking my theory, weighing it against the new evidence. Oh, this scene proved that that couldn't have happened this way, so maybe it was this person because this is... I go through this in my brain, and it's just a wild ride to try and think about this and figure this out as things go on. I would be lying if I said that this movie really drew me in to the fullest extent, but I still had an interesting, fun time watching it. As far as other criticisms of it go, you had basically, like I said, the one-dimensional characters, a pretty shallow plot line, an interesting enough mystery, but I think that the one thing that I really was disappointed by more than anything else was the kills. When you're having a masked killer going around slashing people up and so on and so forth, that's honestly one of the main criteria, is that you have interesting, gory, look at the screen through the cracks of your fingers kind of kills. The stuff that makes horror fans giddy with glee and gore and blood and everything all over the place. And not only that, but creativity. Most of the kills, not all, but most, were somewhat lackluster and didn't really show a whole lot. It was a little bit disappointing on that front. Some of them were not bad. But taking the kills and the practical effects and the blood and the gore and so forth, I would say that this movie averaged out to a pretty passable meh. If you're a fan of the late 90s kind of slasher films, urban legend and the sort, I would say that this would scratch that itch pretty well, but it really was kind of one of the tail end movies of a sub genre that was kind of on its way out. But even so, it did have some fun moments, and I do think that there should be a place in our lives for some pretty entertaining mediocrity. And in that case, I would recommend the 2001 movie Valentine. So I'm going to go ahead and get into some spoilers here. So if you haven't seen this movie or if you care about spoilers in the slightest, please stop watching now. All right, we're back. Going to get into some spoilers here. Basically, here was my theory process as I was watching this movie. Throughout most of it, I was basically saying that David Boreanaz was the killer. And then I shifted. And I'll tell you why I shifted. It's because of this extra right here. He threw me off so hard. I was basically kind of thinking that was a very weird thing for him to do. It almost looked like as Denise Richards was coming down the stairs, he went up to try and touch her or try to talk to her, and then stopped at the last minute and put his head down and was ashamed for even trying or thinking it. Very, very reminiscent of that junior high dance and that character. And I was kind of thinking in my brain, well, 2001 wasn't too terribly far removed from 1999 with The Sixth Sense. So this is a peak moment for a movie to kind of reveal something broad and then show you all the things that it peppered throughout the film that you had never even noticed before but was there. And I thought maybe, just looking at the background and noticing that extra, that I caught the first glimpse of the killer, and that at the end we're going to reveal his face and then it's going to show us all the times that he was in the background that we saw but never actually saw. At that point, David Boreanaz just seemed like way too obvious of a choice, and I thought maybe that's the red herring. Maybe they're just putting this really obvious choice in front of us to know that we'll take the bait, and then they'll do the big reveal. Nope, it was David Boreanaz. I don't know what the fuck that extra was doing, but it had nothing to do with anything. I don't know if that was intentional or not. I'd love to hear from Jamie Blanks if that was a purposeful thing that was set up in the background as a fake out. And if so, you know what? Fuck you. You got me. That was really good. But I don't know. It feels too good to just be purposefully put in there. It almost feels like just an accident that I happened to pick up on and just made too much of it. But regardless, that's the kind of thing that I do love about these movies, of trying to figure this out, theorizing, changing my theories, altering things, and just enjoying the ride. And that's what I meant by there should be some place in our lives for some pretty entertaining mediocrity. So thank you again to SmilingSammie for recommending the 2001 movie Valentine. I hadn't seen it before. I did enjoy it overall. And thank you for watching this video. If you like this, please click like and subscribe. It helps me a whole lot. And remember, next time you want to watch a horror movie, first make sure that it's good and rotted.